We are back, y'all, with A Life by You, and we have a fun episode today. I'm looking forward to talking about, which is loving yourself is the ultimate self care.
Oh, yes. Yes. It's all about loving yourself. It may
Yeah,
sound a little selfish, but it's not. Trust me.
it may sound like what?
It may sound like you're selfish when you say
Hmm.
that, but you're not being selfish.
Absolutely not. No, I think we talk about this a lot, how
Mhm.
it's so important to prioritize yourself and taking care of yourself. And
Mhm.
it's just it's so absolutely needed in order to do whatever you want in life. If you're really going to be really creating a life by you, you have got to prioritize taking care of yourself, you know?
Honestly, it is the foundation.
Mm, mm,
Like when you build a house, you have to have your foundation. If you
yeah.
don't know how to love yourself, there is no foundation. So
Mm,
everything that you're trying to do after that is not going to be successful. It's going to crumble. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be walking through mud. You have to put the air mask on yourself, ladies and gentlemen, period.
mm,
Before
yeah.
you help anyone else, you have to love yourself.
So what does that even, I mean, what does that even look like, loving yourself? I mean, I think I love myself. I know I love myself, but what does
She
that
said,
even,
"Honey, I love myself."
I do.
How do
I
you know you
love,
love yourself, MJ? How do you know that?
I love being by myself. I know that, and again, I know that might sound selfish, but I even talked about it multiple times this past weekend with some girlfriends. As being a mother, a business owner, having a career and all of that, I love spending time with myself. I love being alone. I cherish being alone with my
Mm,
thoughts and having the
yeah.
space to just dream, look within, check in on myself. And I feel like this was a practice that I allowed myself to adopt while being single most of my 20s.
Okay.
Those dudes didn't want have nothing to do with me, and that's okay. I mean, they didn't want to have they only wanted one thing.
Right. So you use that opportunity to take the time to really learn
Yeah.
what MJ liked, didn't like,
Mhm.
grow,
Mhm.
explore. See, you did it in your 20s. I didn't do that until my 30s.
Wow. And I
In my
and here's
20s,
the
I was in a relationship.
and what?
In my 20s, I was in a relationship, having
And
Kennedy at 26, 27.
and I wanted a relationship so bad. Let me just be honest. Like I really wanted a relationship, but I also was just like there's this voice inside of me that knew don't settle. I mean, I even had a man, no, he was a male. I won't call him a boy, but he was a male and he even told me, Mallory, never settle. Do not settle. You deserve whatever
Ooh,
you want. And I thank him for that. He was the best
yes.
thing I ain't never had. I'm good. Thank you
I
because
I thank him for that.
yeah.
That is amazing. When you can
Mhm.
have people be that honest and tell
Mhm.
you that kind of a truth,
Mhm.
that's a good person.
And so he was my first love, and
Oh,
he told me that early on in my 20s, and after that he broke my heart because
of
you
course.
got to go through that. After
Yes.
he broke my heart and told me that, I just was like, I'm not going to settle. So yeah, I dated, but there would be males that I would date and something it wouldn't be that I was nitpicking, but I'm just like, this isn't it. Like the chemistry wasn't there. And I would break it off. I'd be like, you're a nice person. I think you deserve a lot of things or whatever, but I don't think I'm your person. So thank you for our time together. And I would cut it off. And there were a few guys that I did that with because of what he said to me. You know what I mean? And he really shifted the way I loved myself. Does that make sense? Like
Absolutely.
that was, I feel like, paramount to, because I spent a lot of time alone after that. Um,
Mhm.
and then my tolerance of what I wanted just kept kind of going up, if that makes sense. It wasn't like
Yeah.
a list of material things. It was just like, what do I need to feel supported, not necessarily loved, because again, I loved myself. So by the time I met Zell, I'm like, look, I don't need you, but I want to build a life with you, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And he knew that.
Absolutely.
He was like, what attract? And it's funny. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I feel this is all derived from self love. Zell even told my dad when they met. We went to dinner, and he told my dad my dad said, "What do you love about Mallory?" And Zell said, "I love that she doesn't need me."
Ooh,
I
yes.
know. So it's just really,
Yes.
I think I think it's so, I talk to other young women like yourself, and I tell them, I'm like, you're gonna get your heart broken. It's gonna happen. You know what I mean? And whether you reconcile with this person or not, your heart's gonna get broken. And I feel like that's really an opportunity to look inside
Yes.
and build the love for yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And that goes even back to women that are continually getting broken hearted.
Mm-hmm.
If they have some sort of a pattern of who they are attracting into their life, that is definitely a time to do a self check and
Whew.
be like, okay, wait a minute. Why am I attracting these non committal people? Why am I attracting abusive people? Why am I attracting whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
If it's a pattern that you're seeing in your life and you find yourself saying, why can't I find a good man? Why does no one want to come in? Whatever the question that you're asking yourself, that's a time to do a self check.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. Mm.
So, yeah,
And that's
because,
hard,
oh,
Jennifer.
absolutely. That,
Like
that,
being honest with yourself. I mean, being honest with yourself is self-love. That's an act of self-love. That's an act of self-care.
absolutely, that is the ultimate
But
self
let's
love
just be
is
honest. That
being
shit's
honest.
hard. That shit's hard.
Absolutely, it's hard. Absolutely, it's hard because when somebody breaks our heart, we always want to blame the other person as if we
Mm,
did not participate in that in some way, shape, or
mm,
form. But remember, you guys, we always attract whatever energy we're putting out, we're attracting. So you attracted that person into your life for a reason to
mm,
teach you something about yourself if
mm,
it doesn't last, right?
mm.
So just remember that. So, yes, when you're in the midst of a heartbreak and it does hurt, and I've been there just like Mallory, and that's what the catalyst for me to say, I'm done. I'm going to self check
Mm.
and figure out why it is I'm attracting the type of people that I'm attracting. And then I even went into calling ex-boyfriends, calling people I had dated, asking them what was wrong with me,
Yeah,
what was
you
it
took
about
it.
me.
I mean, and you have a whole YouTube video dedicated to this,
Yes.
but I thought that was so profound
Hmm.
and so much courage to do that.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? And I think that provides a whole different level of clarity than figuring it out yourself. Because I
Hmm.
think for me, certainly I learned lessons from everyone that I dated. I have no regrets of anyone that I've dated.
Right.
Because it was always, like you said, an opportunity to really learn about myself. Um, my tolerance, what I'm going to put up with, what do I want, and all that other good stuff.
Yes. Hmm.
But I never, I had never the courage to be like, well, why didn't you want me? You know what I mean? Like that
Hmm.
takes a lot of courage, man.
Hmm.
Were you
Hmm.
scared?
No, because I knew these people quite a long
Okay.
time, and it was a
Okay.
back and a forth and a back and a forth, and
All
I
right.
felt very comfortable to be like, hey, why aren't you choosing me? You know what I mean?
Mm, okay.
I'm good enough for all these other areas of your life,
Mm,
but not the final commitment. I want to know why.
yeah.
And so,
Wow.
and then other people that I've just dated, kind of casually asked them, what were kind of some red flags that they saw, you know, and then it made me feel like, okay, I get it. And yes, I do those things. And I owned it. And I either self corrected or I found, so I attracted somebody who could actually deal with some of those things that were off putting to them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I wish I would have done what you did in my 20s. Not
Mm,
to have regret, but to have that wisdom in my 20s to be able to do that because I too so wanted to have more children, be married, and I didn't get married until I was 40, after 40, and I didn't have more children, you
mm,
know. So,
Your path is your path, though. You know
of
what I
course,
mean?
of course,
And
and trust me, now I'm grateful I didn't have more children. Sorry for all y'all
right.
having babies out there. I'm grateful I didn't. It's just too much going on in the world. And now I have a granddaughter who, is not my biological, it's not my child, but
Yeah.
I take care of her like she's my child. I love on her and it's great. And I
Yeah.
can give her back to her mom when I'm done.
Yeah. No,
And
so
so,
the choices you made brought you to this point and you're able to
absolutely,
relish in that.
absolutely. But
Absolutely.
I understand other women and I understand,
Yeah.
being in your 20s, wanting to meet your husband, wanting to have children in your 30s. I understand all those wants and desires. And for me, it all worked out. So,
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who says, "Well, Jen, I love myself. I don't know what the problem is." You know what I mean? Like what if they say they love themselves and things still are not aligning, or they don't feel happy or joy or peace? You know what I mean? Things are still off. What would you say they need to do?
just what you just said, I'm like, okay, so you love yourself. So every area of your life is great. And I would go down the checklist with that person. You're
Yeah.
happily married. You're happy in a relationship. You're happy with your career. Your family life is good. You have genuine friends. And we would start checking down the list. And I bet you when you start asking these questions, they're going to be like,
Mm,
okay, yeah, well, not perfect, but no, right, not quite the career I want, but then we start diving a little deeper because it's
mhm,
very easy and surface level to be like, I love myself. Yet you've
mhm.
attracted in a relationship which you're not quite happy about.
Right.
There's things that are missing.
Right.
Not every
Or there's
relationship is
habits.
perfect.
Or no, all relationships are not perfect.
Right.
Or there may be habits that you haven't, routines that
Yeah.
you haven't adopted or let go of, that are taking you
Hmm.
away from
Or
loving
not
you and
allowing you to live
caring
your
for
best
yourself.
self.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just, it would be, I would have to ask a series of questions to really get
Mm.
into how are you really loving yourself?
Mm.
Because you go and get a massage once a week or you go get your nails and your hair done, that's definitely a part of self care. That's not
Mm.
self love.
No.
Okay.
No.
It's
Yeah.
different. Are you
It is.
honoring yourself? Are you living your truth?
Yeah.
Are you putting on a facade so you could fit in to your circle of people? I mean, these are the kind of things that tell you if you're loving yourself, you're truly
Mhm.
loving yourself.
I know one thing that we've talked about is like that self-talk. You know what I mean? That what
Oh,
happens
yeah.
in the
That
brain.
loop.
That loop, yeah. These stories, these rules and conditions the world or yourself have placed upon yourself. And I even still, I'm not infallible. I'm not perfect by any means. I love
Oh, no.
myself, but I recognize I can still play into that. I had a night the other night.
Uh-oh.
I was doom scrolling on my phone, and I went down this whole, I have a thyroid problem. And I went down this whole thyroid doom scroll thing, like, what, I
Uh-oh.
gotta figure this out. And there were parts of me where I started going like, woe is me type mindset started creeping
Absolutely.
in. And
Yep.
I had to check myself and just simply say, I'm thankful for so much of what this body has done for me, you know what I
Yes.
mean? And has allowed me to do. And this is
Absolutely.
not going to be what defines me. You know what I mean? Like there
Mhm.
are other ways and means for me to heal or continue. And doing this right now is not going to get me closer to there. You know what I
No,
mean?
no.
And so again, that self-talk, you got to be cognizant of even how you're thinking. Does that make sense? Like you got to almost take like a picture. You see us on our screens if you're watching on YouTube. Imagine you looking at you like, what are you doing? Stop doing that. Stop thinking that. Stop talking that. Like sometimes you got
Your
to check
higher
yourself.
self is saying that. Your higher
Yes.
self is legit saying that when you're doing it. You just don't
Yes.
hear it because you haven't tuned into the higher self yet. But they are. They're like, that's not the road to go,
No.
Mallory. No, no. Because
No.
that's their story. That is a story that has been told over and over again, and you're gonna buy into it.
Yep.
But I love what you just said when you were like, this is not going to be my story. This is not going to be what I'm going to do. Because imagine if nobody ever told you the symptoms of having a thyroid problem.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I'm not trying to say placebo or anything, but I'm
No, but
sure a lot of those you wouldn't even feel or think or know because it was never put into your subconscious mind.
yes, yes, I wholeheartedly agree, and it's so funny. I mean, if we take this as an example, a real example, before I was told I had a thyroid problem, I didn't think anything was wrong. I had adopted that my body had changed because I had a baby, and this is just who I am now, if that makes sense.
Yep,
And I was
absolutely.
at peace with that. It wasn't until, in full transparency for me, I went back to the fertility doctor because I had lucky through IVF. So I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, let's do this again. I'm ready for another baby.
Yeah,
And the fertility doctor was like, you can't get pregnant. And I'm like, well, why? Your thyroid's all jacked up. If you had a baby right now, you would lose that baby. And so when that shift happened, and he's like, you need to go get it fixed. This could actually be problematic. All these other things could occur. Things really started. It actually, now that I'm looking back in hindsight, this all started really aligning with my spiritual awakening, when
yeah,
you and I connecting. So things just started warping for me, where it's just like, it was like a sense of loss of control. And then also, this other thing now, um, creating a problem. But in a lot of ways, I think I allowed it to manifest, if that makes sense. By
absolutely.
subscribing to the
Like they
negativity
told you,
behind it. You know
Western
what I mean?
Western medicine will make you feel like you do not have control
Right.
of
Oh, for
what's
sure.
going on with your health in your body when you
Yeah.
absolutely do. As soon as that doctor would have told me that, I'd have been like, cool. I'd have been on the phone with my holistic doctor. Now we're going to
Right.
get to the root of it. Is it emotional?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Mm-hmm.
gut related?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that's causing this underlining so called thyroid issue?
Mm-hmm.
And then we
Mm-hmm.
would have taken the steps back and then rework the system to get a healing versus
Right.
this could be problematic. You're gonna have to take this medication. You're gonna have to do this. No, the body
Mm-hmm.
is amazing and the body can heal itself and the body can do a lot of things. More importantly,
Mm-hmm.
the mind can either make or break you.
Right.
So when the doctor tells you that, of course you're going to start spinning. Of course you're going to be like, oh my God, like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
Mm-hmm.
Western medicine.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Well, I
great
mean,
for certain things,
it's so
but
capitalistic. Let's just be honest. Western
but
medicine.
and they're great for certain things. Don't get me wrong. If I get into a major car accident and I'm bleeding to death, please take me to the trauma. Please take me
Right.
to emergency because they know how to stop it. They know how to fix it.
Yeah.
But when you get things like chronic diseases and illnesses of that nature, it's there's something deeper going on. And it
Mm-hmm.
usually has to do with you're out of alignment with either your spirituality, with your emotions. Something is telling you, I'm not happy and it's acting out.
Right. Right.
And how
Yeah.
do I fix it?
Exactly. No, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. And I think that ultimately you have to take accountability and ownership. When it comes to self love, I think it's about taking an accountability and ownership
Hmm.
over your thoughts and your habits and the way that you're approaching life on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Uh, and if you're not clear on that, if you're not accountable, I think accountable is a big piece of it. If you're not honest with yourself, um, you could be really going down a black hole. You know what I mean? Because you're now subscribing to a false truth, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. If you're not
Absolutely.
cognizant of, where did this information come from? Why do I believe this? And again, like you said, Western medicine, there are a lot of there are a lot of positives to it, but I agree most times with like diagnoses and things like that, it's like doom, you know. And so, and I think that's the same thing with anything, whether your money mindset, I think that plays into your self love if you subscribe to false beliefs about money.
Mhm.
If you have false beliefs about relationships or how you're supposed to be in a relationship or whatever it may be, I think you have to question, why is XYZ not working? It all goes back to, well, why do I think this is the way it needs to be? Or, where does this truth come from? You know what I mean?
Why do I believe what I believe?
Hmm.
Where did I get that belief system from?
Right.
Was it growing up? Was it the
Hmm.
friends I hung around with? Was it my colleagues
Hmm.
at work? Uh, you need to start asking yourself these questions. If you truly want to start changing your life, you have to start questioning everything you think and do.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because, is it really truly you, or are you playing a character
Ooh.
that you have developed
Yeah.
throughout the years? And what I mean by that is, from
Oh, yeah.
in your family, you're playing a character, at your workplace, you're playing a character, with your friends, you're playing a character, because these are the people that you have, like, okay, your family, no, your family you're raised in. But the people that you start to become around, like your friends and stuff, you share the same belief system, things of that nature, right? So that's why you guys are friends. You have common beliefs. You have
Hmm.
common things you like to do together.
Hmm.
That's your friends. Your coworkers, you're working with them. You kind of have a common belief system because you guys are working towards usually a same kind of goal in a workplace, things of that nature. But you need to start questioning those beliefs and why you're doing and thinking what you do,
Yep.
because that's going to help you really understand, is this something that is aligned with me? Is this a true belief system from my core being? Or is it something that I picked up along the way? If it's
Hmm.
something you picked up along the way, now you're playing a role and it's truly not in alignment with who you really are.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where people get lost in the sauce.
Yeah. No,
And then
I.
that's where everything backfires, because you think it's supposed to be like that. And you hear this a ton of times with relationships.
Hmm.
Well, because they've seen it a million times on TV or whatever, they have this fairy tale image in their head of what a relationship is supposed to look like. And a lot of times it's not.
Girl.
And you will
No.
be disappointed, unhappy, because it doesn't follow in alignment with the story that you have created in your head because of what you've learned, probably from childhood all the way until adulthood.
Yep. Yeah. But you have to hold yourself accountable to that. Like, you have to check yourself in a sense that, did I create this story? You know what I mean? Did I, make a cognizant decision to accept this story more or less? Um, and I
Well,
think
you
ultimately,
do.
no, and you do. But I think being self aware allows you, practicing self awareness, I think, is a form of self care to get you closer to self loving yourself. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Absolutely.
Looking under those rocks, looking, really diving deep, and whether it's asking other people or, doing that critical, I don't want to say self critical, because I think some people, I've seen some people who start
Are
doing
really
this
critical.
and
Yeah.
they get so critical upon themselves. And it's just like, one, you got to have some patience with yourself. Like, you can't rush. I don't think this is a process you can rush. We've
Oh,
mentioned it's
no.
ongoing. And that's
It's
why
been
you got to
20
have,
something years, 20 something years for me of doing this work.
and I feel like it's continuous. I feel
Oh,
like self love as a act of self care, or self care leading to self love, it is a daily act. It's not these momentous occasions of, going to, let's believe I love going to the spa, but it's more than that. It's a daily act and routine of checking in with myself,
mhm.
which can be very exhausting,
It is
invasive,
exhausting. It is.
it's uncomfortable,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think it's necessary, and the more you practice it, I think the easier it gets.
Yeah. And yeah, it will get easier, but I also think you have peaks and valleys. And I
Oh,
think
for
that
sure.
you're going to sometimes hit a roadblock and you'll be like, damn, okay, I thought I kind of already dealt with this, or why does it
Yeah.
feel so heavy right now? And I thought we already worked through this, and I thought I had the proper tools, and it
Mm.
shouldn't feel this heavy, but it does. Um, yeah. what I was going to say to that is obviously the people that listen to this podcast are ready for a mindset change,
For sure.
because I know that there are people out there, and I've come across people, they're oblivious. They're
Mm,
not asking themselves these questions.
mm,
Um, because I think when you start asking yourself these questions, you're going to open up, you're going to go down a rabbit hole, you're going to open up a whole new bag of worms, and your life is going to change, you guys. Because what I just mentioned before is you have groups that you relate to, meaning your friends. When you go down this journey, you're going to start thinking different, you're going to start acting different. And those people that liked you the way you were
mm,
may not like this new person
mm-hmm,
that you're becoming.
mm,
And it can become a very lonely journey. That's why
absolutely.
I love what you said in the beginning, Mallory, is when you were like, I love being by myself.
Mm,
So understand this, folks. When you guys are headed on this journey, you're going to spend a lot of time by yourself and in your head.
mm.
Um,
Ain't that the truth?
and so, but it's such a beautiful experience. I mean, it's hard and it's beautiful at the same time, which is crazy. But I'm like you, I love being by myself. This
Mm,
last 2 weeks, I've spent so much time reorganizing my kitchen. I mean, I'm talking about down to the spices, you guys. Like, and mind you, I've hired somebody to redo and organize my kitchen. Like, I have
mm,
stickers everywhere where everything's supposed to go. But and during this process, I'm listening to audiobooks. I'm saying affirmations. When something negative pops into my head, I'm like, why did I just think that? I'm
mm,
analyzing and I'm taking these 8-10 hours of me cleaning and organizing and
mm,
purging to really dive deeper.
mm.
And to me, that is self love.
Yeah.
My space being organized and able for me to reach into my refrigerator and have all of my lettuce chopped for the week and just adding for my salad is such a deep, profound self love for me. I can't even explain it. I know to most people be
That
like, okay, that's like meal prep. I'm like, yeah,
but but that is an act of self-love, you know what I mean?
yes,
And I
yes,
think that's a part that, we talk a lot about the mindset. I think you also have to analyze your actions, you know what I
mhm,
mean? How are you feeling your body? How are you sleeping? Are you prioritizing sleep? You know what I mean? Are you
mhm,
resting?
yep,
You know? And then yeah, you're going to spend some time alone. But also, are you nourishing the relationships that really matter? Because you do
yeah.
need those relationships. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
absolutely.
Are you
Yeah,
are you spending time with people that are just surface level, or are you putting in the work, for that mutual relationship that can build one another up? Are you
yeah,
putting yourself out there to create those relationships? You know what I mean? So it's even I think it's one thing to check the mind, but it's also
mhm,
got to extend into your actions
yes,
that acts as that self-care. You know what I mean? To help achieve that
yes.
self-love. Because I think what I noticed from some other people is, okay, so you're telling me to be accountable and think deeply. I start thinking deeply, and then they almost freeze. Like they can't get past that. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And
Mhm,
so it's almost like you got to start dipping your toe. You got to challenge your spirit in a sense. You
mhm.
you you got to try different things sometimes, and challenge your heart so you can strengthen it. It's like exercising, you know what I mean? And
I
that's
was
a
just
big
about to
part.
say that.
Physical, taking care of yourself physically all plays into the emotional and the mindset, I think.
Well, definitely going back to that, with yoga, having learned how to do yoga, I don't know if a lot of people understand,
Mm.
your hips hold a lot of trauma.
Oh.
So people say, when you get bad news, what do people normally say? Have a seat, right?
Yeah.
Sit down. So when you
Mm.
sit down, now you're getting this bad news. Guess where it gets stored, ladies and gentlemen? In your hip flexors.
Yep.
So you have to move. In order to do any mindset work, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. You're going to have to physically move your body
Mm.
because you need to release trauma that has been trapped inside the body.
Yeah, you're
Yoga
absolutely
is excellent for that. It is excellent because you have to hold a pose and every part of your body holds some sort of emotion. And so when you're holding that pose, you're doing a release, you're doing the breath work, you're focused on that, you can release trauma from the body.
Yeah.
And that actually clears up the mind. Okay, because trauma lives in your body, you guys, which eventually can create diseases, but it also keeps you stuck in the story of your current situation in life.
Yes.
I don't care if you walk around your block,
Mm-hmm.
have to move.
You
The chi,
do.
the energy has to flow, it has to move.
It does. Otherwise, it just sits and manifests nasty things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think what I'm recognizing as I'm on this journey of exploration and awareness and everything, that's a big part of my life that's been missing is the physical part. I think that personally I haven't prioritized it.
Hmm.
I've relied on my mind to do a lot of work, and I'm thankful for it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I think a lot of that's manifest in my hips. You know what I mean? I've carried a lot of shit, for better or lack of words, in my hips, and I had a yoga teacher tell me years ago. She was just like, "You hold all of it in your hips." I learned the very same thing,
Wow. Okay.
and most recently, I hired a personal trainer because I was just like, I have got to. I'm ready to shift something else, but I think I need to approach
Yes.
it in a different way. And we've talked about this,
Hmm.
but I finally went ahead and hired a trainer.
Good.
I have meal prep now being delivered,
Good.
because it's just one. I'm like, I don't want to think about food, so I have to share that with you, by the way, because I know we talked about our dream of our chefs. This isn't quite there, but it's close and it's affordable. But
Hmm.
what I'm saying is that I recognize, even after doing this for a few weeks, I feel profoundly clearer and different. Um, in a positive way.
Good.
And all of it has been aligned to moving and fueling my body with I don't believe in good or bad food. I'm trying to shift my mindset about food, but with premium fuel is kind of how I look at it. You got regular, mid and premium.
There
I
you
like
go.
nice things. I deserve premium. So
There
you know
you
what I
go.
mean?
I like
So
that.
so and I think that if to anyone listening to this, so you may have been doing the mindset work, but now are you implementing it and integrating it into other places in your life? You know what I mean? And
Yes.
I whether it's doing yoga, which is low impact, anybody can do yoga. You know what I mean? There's moves anyone can do. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
where
Yeah.
you're at in yoga, I know you preach this with Obsidian, where your practice is your practice. So if you can't do a headstand yet, that's okay. That's just not part of your practice today. And that's okay. Let's build to that. So
Absolutely.
don't get caught up on where you're at. Think about how doing this today is going to get you to where you want to be later. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
and
You're
that's an act
building.
of self. It's
You're building
resistance.
a foundation, brick
Hmm.
by brick by brick.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what we say when you start this process, just forget everything you ever learned, forget everything you've ever known. Now you're going to rebuild your belief system, you're going
Hmm.
to rebuild your mindset, your body, your health, everything. It's all new. And the wonderful
Hmm.
thing is, every day when you wake up and you take that first breath in the morning, you have an opportunity to make changes in your life.
Ooh, amen.
You know what
Yes,
I
every
mean?
day.
Every day. It doesn't have
Every
to be the new
day.
year, you guys.
Nope.
It doesn't have to
Nope.
be on Sunday. It's
Nope.
every day you wake up and do a little something for yourself that makes you feel good.
It's incremental, you
And
know?
that's working on you, not doing
Mhm,
something for somebody else.
mhm,
You. What did you
mhm.
do for yourself today that made you feel good?
I agree wholeheartedly. And that honestly gets you closer to that self-love, that true,
Yes.
you know, endearing, true self-love. Um, I wanted to just, I obviously we could talk about this forever, but we're actually going to be hosting a workshop all
Yeah.
about this, which I'm super looking forward to.
Hmm.
Jen is actually the one who came up with this incredible idea. And I was like, oh, we got to do that. We got to do it. So,
Well, I'll give credit where credit is due. My one of my energy people, we were talking about self love, and she was like, "You need to do something on falling in love with yourself." And I was like, "That's it,
there it
that's it."
is.
She
So,
nailed it. So I'm gonna give her credit.
well, thank you to your friend.
Yes.
And we're going to be hosting a workshop, falling in love with yourself. So stay tuned with the dates. We'll probably update this episode with the information here at the end. So listen to the end here, and be sure to sign up. We're looking forward to having and hosting this workshop. And really,
Hmm.
we're just going to be digging deeper, on some specific things of, what are those hard questions you need to be asking yourself? What exactly do you need to be prioritizing in your life, to achieve and fall in love with yourself? And what exactly are those actions,
Yes.
to get you there? We'll be digging deeper because let's be honest, a half hour just ain't gonna do it. Um,
No.
and it's an ongoing process, as we always say. So this is going to be a free workshop. So we're
Yep.
looking forward to connecting with you guys on a deeper level, and welcome to anyone to join us. So stay tuned or check out the show notes to sign up,
Hmm.
and we can't wait to see you guys there.
Yes. Exciting stuff coming ahead. Looking
Awesome.
forward to it.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Well, thank you guys. And as always, please leave us a review. Give us any ratings,
Comments. Yep.
comments, all of it. We appreciate it as always.
Definitely. Thank you.